One of the most important skills in college basketball today is the ability to knock down catch and shoot threes at a high level. What makes the catch and shoot three interesting is that unlike an isolation or a pick and roll, the shooter isn't creating the shot with a dribble, the shot is being created for them. And yet every scouting report on elite shooters says the same thing: no free looks, run them off the line. So how are these shooters still getting catch and shoot threes consistently and doing it at a high volume? In this video, we're taking a deep dive into the 4 best catch and shoot shooters so far this season in the Atlantic 10 Conference. All 4 of these shooters are shooting over 40% on catch and shoot threes while making at least 2 per game. Hopefully, we'll be able to answer this question: how do these elite shooters consistently get their shots up when the opposing team's entire plan is to take those looks away? So I broke it down into 7 ways or tactics that these shooters utilize so that they're able to get up quality catch and shoot shots consistently, even when the defense is geared towards not letting them. So here are the 7. Being able to relocate on drives and on reversals, having elite footwork and squaring to the rim, sprinting your lanes in transition, being ready to shoot pre-catch, being a great screener, being able to change pace, and being able to recognize and read screens. So now let's get into the film and see how these shooters utilize these tactics. Our first shooter we're going to study is Jonah Hinton. Hinton is a redshirt junior at the University of Rhode Island. He is currently shooting 41.4% on catch and shoot threes, making 2.2 per game. And he is tied in the lead in the Atlantic 10 Conference for catch and shoot 3-point makes. For Hinton, we're going to focus on 3 tactics he uses, which are going to be relocation, changing of pace, and being a great screener. Let's take a look into how he gets these open looks. In this first clip, Hinton does a great job of relocating against his zone. As you can see, Albany comes out here in a 1-3-1. For shooters like Hinton and other shooters that we'll study throughout this film session, when teams zone them, they love that. They know that all they got to do is relocate and find the open voids in the zone, and they'll get their open catch and shoot threes. So let's let this play out a little bit as Hinton reverses the basketball here. Boom, the defender that's supposed to be covering his area turns his head and runs at the basketball. Hinton knows that all he has to do now is relocate deeper into that wing and make that area between the basketball and him as long as possible, so when he gets that reversal, the closeout will be too long. Additionally, number 8, as you'll see, does a great job back cutting and taking out 13. So again, if Hinton just relocates to that wing, that closeout will be way too long for number 2, and he'll be able to knock down that 3. So let's let it play out a little bit. Hinton reverses the basketball, he slides over deep to that wing, and he's able to get the catch and shoot 3 up. In this clip, Providence is in man, but Hinton uses the same relocation tactic here to get an open look. So let's let it play it out. As you can see, his teammate drives into 2, gets in a little bit of trouble, and right there, number 14 on Providence, who's guarding Hinton, sees that and is looking to kind of jump the passing lane back out to number 22, the point guard. Again, Hinton realizes that and knows all he has to do is relocate, get to that corner, and once he gets that pass, that closeout will be way too long for 14 on Providence, and he'll get the wide open catch and shoot 3 in the corner. Let's take a look at what happens. Does exactly that. He slides over. That closeout's way too long, 3 points. Move on to clip 3 here and see how Hinton changes his pace to get an open shot. As Hinton reverses the ball here, let's take a look, and you see how he kind of slows down, acts nonchalant, acts as if the play is not coming back for him. What this does is then makes his defender relax. If Hinton were to go full speed, his defender would move at full speed. But since he slows down, his defender relaxes. And again, Hinton knows that this play is coming back for him, that his big man's going to reverse it and then come set a down screen for him. But the defender does not know that. So as his teammate comes set that down screen, Hinton explodes off the down screen and is able to get an open look. Let's rewind that a little bit and play it from here. Hinton reverses the ball, and let's study that a little bit deeper. Right there, as Hinton explodes off that down screen after he changed his pace, number 11 on Canisius goes under the screen. To me, that's how you know exactly Hinton's changing of pace worked perfectly. Hinton is one of the best shooters in the Atlantic 10 Conference. At the top of his scouting report had to have been trail his screens, no free looks, make him put it on the deck. But since Hinton slows down, changes his pace, makes number 11 get caught off guard, and he just totally loses sight of his man, loses sight of the scouting report, and goes under. Hinton pops his feet and knocks down the shot. Last clip here on Hinton. Let's take a look at him as a screener, which gets him a wide open look. As you can see from the beginning, Hinton reverses the ball, cuts through, and gets right into this back screen action. Hinton is super physical on this back screen and actually hits a body. Something you'll hear a lot on this channel is the screener is always open. What this back screen or any screen is meant to do is make the defense make a decision, right? The player here who's guarding Hinton, if number 8 comes off the back screen tight, which he does, he has to make a choice. Is he going to stay tight to Hinton, or is he going to tag the back cutter so he can help his teammate out and not give up a layup? Again, making the defense make decisions. So let's take a look and see what happens. 8 comes off tight, and right there, right, as you can see right here, Hinton's defender has to hedge, has to not give up the layup, right? And Hinton immediately recognizes it and spurts out. Look at that space now between between Hinton and his defender. That's too much space for a shooter like Hinton. Now he's going to curl across and get a wide open look. Again, let's play that back again. Hinton sets a great back screen. His defender has to hedge. He sprints off immediately, curls it inside footwork, 3 points. Our next player is Terrence Hill Jr. Hill is currently a sophomore at VCU and is shooting 50.9% on catch and shoot threes, making 2.2 per game. We're going to take a look at Hill in transition and take a look at his footwork, which allows him to be able to get up his shots quickly and on balance. In my opinion, the easiest way for shooters to get open is to sprint in transition, and no one in the A10 does this better than Terrence Hill Jr. In transition, teams struggle to get matched, so it's a catch and shoot shooter's dream. All you have to do is sprint your lane and you'll get open looks. So let's take a look. VCU here, after the block, in transition, Hill sprints to his lane to the left wing, wide open shot. Similar situation here. Off this turnover from NC State, Hill gets ahead of the play and sprints deep into that right corner. I'm going to stop it here. You can't see Hill in that right corner, but he's there. What that does is it stretches the defense. So now on this drive by his teammate Barry Evans, number 5 on NC State, Trey Holloman, has to make a decision, right? If Hill wasn't in that corner, he could easily just now help his teammate on the drive. But since Hill's in the corner, he stretches that court and Trey Holloman has to make a decision. Is he going to stay home to the corner and give up that drive? Or is he going to kind of stunt, help, recover, try to do that type of thing and try to get back to Hill? But in this case, he decides to stunt, doesn't get there in time, and since Hill sprinted, he gets an open look. Here I want to talk about Terrence Hill's footwork, which helps him get his shots off quickly and on balance. So as you can see here, Hill comes to set the go screen. What a go screen does, similar to setting an actual screen, it makes the defense react. And as we talked about before, the more times you make a defense react, the better chance you have of them making a mistake. But here, as Hill slips out of that go screen, he only gets a sliver of space. The Vatech defender gets caught up, but not so much. So to me, the only way for Hill to get this shot up on time and on balance is for him to execute perfect footwork. So let's take a look at what he does. So as Hill comes to slip that go screen, he plants that outside foot, in this case that right foot, and then quickly pops his feet and gets on balance. Let's go back one more time. Again, plants that right foot, pops his feet, perfectly squared to the rim, and is able to knock it down. Last clip here on Terrence Hill's footwork. So here, Hill reverses the ball, and his teammate Ahmad Noel does a great job driving and playing off 2. As you can see here, Hill's defender turns his head. So what does Hill do? He relocates towards the middle. But what I want to focus on here is Hill's footwork. Hill's defender on St. Peter's does a great job of getting back into play, as you can see here. So for Hill to get the shot up, he needs to execute perfect footwork. And to me, he does that. So let's go back a little bit. As Noel drives, plays off 2, Hill perfectly curls that, plants his feet, and is able to rise up over his defender and knock it down. Our third shooter is Kory Mincy. Mincy is a junior at George Mason. He is shooting 48.1% on catch and shoot threes while making 2.1 per game. Mincy does a great job of sitting pre-catch, which allows him to get shots off quickly, and he also does a great job of being a screener and getting looks off screening actions. Let's take a look. Mincy makes his money by simply just sitting pre-catch. Sitting pre-catch is so effective for catch and shoot shooters because once you catch, all you have to do is rise up into your shot. If you were standing upright, you would have to go down and then back up, which obviously takes more time. By sitting pre-catch, this allows Mincy to get shots up quicker so he can get shots up even when the defense isn't necessarily out of position. As you can see here, as Mincy reverses the ball, let's pause it. That top defender in the 2-3 for James Madison is in the correct position. He's halfway between the ball and Mincy, and he's, in the correct positioning. So as the George Mason ball handler attacks the gap, let's take a look. Look how low Mincy gets. So on this pass, again, as we talked about, even though this top defender in the zone isn't out of position, Mincy's so low and ready to shoot pre-catch that he's able to rise up and get the shot up on time. Very similar situation here. As you can see, Ohio is in a 2-3 zone. George Mason simply screens the top of the zone, hoping that this opposite guard will pinch in, and then they can easily, play 2-on-1 with this weak side wing. Again, they're hoping that they can, if this inside guard comes in, they can reverse the ball and play 2-on-1 with the inside wing. This Ohio defender clearly read his scouting report and knows that he's guarding Mincy, an elite catch-and-shoot shooter. So watch what he does, right? On that drive, he doesn't even bother to come in and close on that drive. He knows he has a shooter there. But look how low Mincy gets. So even though this opposite top defender doesn't come in on the drive, he's still not able to recover to Mincy's shot, 3 points. Now let's take a look at Mincy as a screener. As we talked about earlier, if you want to get open catch and shoot threes, be a great screener. George Mason here runs a simple yet effective Spain action, which is a ball screen into a back screen. That ball screen into this back screen. Mincy barely even hits that back screen. It's a good, not great screen. But as we talked about earlier, look at Mincy's defender. He has to tag that roller, which gives all that space between his defender and Mincy. So now Mincy, all he has to do is pop out, get on balance, and that's too much room for a shooter like Mincy. Similar concept here out of a flex action for George Mason. As we talked about, George Mason wants to get Mincy, their best shooter, in action as the screener. So as Mincy comes here to set the cross screen, again, it's a good, not a great screen. But as you see here, Mincy's defender turns his head. Again, looks to see if he needs to help his teammate. In this case, his teammate does a great job of getting over, and he doesn't need a help. But again, he turned his head, and that gives Mincy all the space he needs to be able to come off that screen with room between him and his defender. Mincy now shoots off that down screen, and it's too much space. Our last shooter we're going to take a look at is Trey Green. Green is a redshirt sophomore at the University of St. Louis. He is shooting 48% on catch and shoot threes while making 2 per game. Green is a huge reason as to why St. Louis has been the best team in the A-10 so far, and one of the best non-power teams of the season. We're going to look at how Green is able to read his defender when coming off screens, how he's able to change his pace, and how he's able to relocate off the ball. In this first clip, let's talk about recognition. Being able to recognize and read screens is one of the most important skills in college basketball, especially for a lethal shooter like Green. Let's take a look at what they do here. So it's simple baseline out of bounds play. Green throws it over the top, and his double stagger is set for him. As you can see here, Green really has 2 options. If his defender trails him, he can then come around, curl it tight, and look for that layup. Or if his defender shoots the gap, which Green does, and he's able to read and recognize, then all he has to do is sit behind this screen, and he'll get a wide open catch and shoot 3. So let's play it back a little bit. As Green throws it over the top, he sprints off a double stagger. His defender tries to shoot the gap, and he's able to get the shot off. Let's rewind it one more time. Green comes off, and let's pause it right there. Great recognition by his teammate, Robbie Avila, to change the angle of that double stagger once he sees Green. Read it that he's shooting the gap. He changes his angle. He makes that even longer. It makes it even harder for his defender to get through, and it's wide open 3 points. Let's take a look at how Green changes his pace here. Whether you're on the ball or off the ball, being able to change speeds is super important. If you're going super fast only at one pace, it's much easier to guard than if you go from slow to fast or fast to slow. So let's let this play out. As Green enters the ball to the high post, he actually does a great back cut here, and it's probably pretty open, but he doesn't get it. So instead of pouting or throwing his hands up, Green continues to play. And what I love here is how you saw that after Green doesn't get the ball in that back cut, he slows down. Again, when he slows down, makes his defender, number 5, slow down and stand up instead of being in a position to guard. Again, Green knows that he's getting this down screen from his teammate. Number 5 on LMU does not. So as Green slows down, his defender slows down, and now he gets this down screen and is able to shoot off it and get an open look. Let's finish up by taking a look at how Green is able to relocate off the ball. Purdue Fort Wayne here comes out in a 2-3 zone, and as we talked about, great shooters like Green and other shooters we talked about, when teams zone them, all they have to do is find the open voids and relocate to open spots, and they'll get open looks. So similarly here, as Green reverses the ball, what we talked about before, look at that. Top guy in the zone turns his head, looks at the ball. So as his teammate drives, Green simply relocates to the wing and is able to get an open look. All 4 of these shooters get their catch and shoot looks by using one or more of the 7 tactics we broke down throughout this film study. These habits are what allow them to create space and get quality looks, even when the defense is geared towards not letting them get these shots up. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more MaxIQ Film Breakdowns.